When I visited the site of the new Old Oak Common Super Hub about 2 years ago, around half of the enormous box was yet to be excavated. But now the 850 metre long box has been fully excavated, and in fact the first platforms are starting to be assembled. Excavation of the box was completed last year, and since then engineering teams have installed a 2 metre thick ground slab. The 1.3 million tonnes of London clay that was removed was transported by rail to be used for land reclamation in Kent, Warwickshire and Cambridgeshire. The spoil from Euston Tunnel will however be removed by the Atlas Road Logistics Tunnel once the TBMs start boring their way towards Euston. The 853 metre long tunnel will also be used to transport tunnel segments in. The tunnel connects the eastern section of the Old Oak Common box to the Atlas Road Logistics Hub. This will allow spoil to be transferred to trains and the delivery by rail of the 56,000 tunnel segments needed for the 7.2 km long twin bore tunnel. The location of the portal within the box, close to the launching point for the TBMs, will allow for the excavation of the tunnel whilst work continues within the box to build the new station. The 2 TBMs that will construct Euston Tunnel were assembled in 2024, after which they were advanced a short distance into what will eventually be the tunnel, so work could take place in the box before excavation of the tunnel begins. No date has yet been set for when tunnelling will commence, but it was suggested that tunnelling will start within 12 months once the TBMs have been fully assembled. There was some concern that the tunnelling delay would impact the construction of the new Old Oak Common station, but it appears as though the Atlas Road Logistics Tunnel will allow construction of the station to continue without interruption once tunnelling does begin. At the other end of the box, a further tunnel has been constructed which links to the Victoria Road crossover box. This 360 metre long tunnel has been excavated using mined tunnel techniques rather than by a TBM. The 128 metre long, 25 metre deep box has been constructed using a technique which is similar to how ventilation shafts are constructed, with 5 circular sections excavated vertically down. The box will eventually house a set of switches that will allow HS2 trains to reach all 6 of the platforms. The crossovers have now become even more vital, as Old Oak Common will have to act as a terminus for several years, until the new Euston station is complete. But as the crossovers are flat, capacity will be limited, and it has been suggested that Old Oak Common will have a capacity to handle only 10 trains per hour in each direction. This doesn't sound like much, but that means there'll be 20 movements in and out of the station per hour, which will be handled by at-grade switches. Trains will head west from the crossover box via the Northolt Tunnel, which has now been excavated. The final TBM used to construct the tunnel was lifted from the Green Parkway ventilation shaft on Friday the 5th of September. The process of removing the TBMs is actually quite fascinating, and a video about the unusual process was released last year, which is well worth a watch, a link to which will be in the description. Returning to the new station, construction of the HS2 platforms began in May. The platforms are being constructed using in-situ poured concrete to form 1.6 metre tall walls, which are topped with 1,960 precast concrete panels. Although the station box is 850 metres long, the 6 HS2 platforms will be 400 metres long, but this will provide space for 1,000 seat trains from Birmingham. The remaining space will allow room for switches to be installed. The crossover at Victoria Road, working in conjunction with the switches at the western end of the box, will allow HS2 trains to reach all 6 of the platforms. The original plan for Old Oak Common was the platforms to have platform edge doors. This would have made what will eventually be a through station much safer for passengers, as although all HS2 trains will stop at Old Oak Common, even when Euston opens, there will be the possibility for some trains to pass through non-stop. However, it was recently revealed that the contract to provide platform edge doors has been abandoned. with the reason given that HS2 now intends to operate a mixed fleet. This has fueled speculation that 250 metre long trains may now be used on services north of Birmingham. This is because stations on the existing network cannot accommodate 400 metre long sets. However, the 200 metre long units on order will have significantly less seats than an 11 car Class 390, which has 607 seats. This is yet to be confirmed, but operating 250 metre long units is seen as vital. Otherwise, swapping existing Avanti services to HS2 trains could see an overall decrease in seating capacity, particularly for Manchester and Glasgow services. Even if 250 metre long units are ordered, it's likely that some 200 metre long sets will still be manufactured, as this allows Birmingham to be served by 400 metre long sets with 1,000 seats, formed from two 200 metre long trains. Above ground, work has also started on the 8 platforms that will be used by GWR and Crossrail services. This will allow the seamless transfer between HS2 and services into central London and to the west. This will be particularly useful for people from Birmingham and the north who are travelling to Heathrow. The journey currently involves travelling to Euston and then transferring by the Circle or District lines or by taxi to Paddington to catch services to Heathrow. The interchange at Oak Common will make this journey in particular significantly quicker than today. But Oak Common will also allow easier and quicker journeys to Tottenham Court Road and Canary Wharf, to name but a few stations. I know there has been a lot of debate recently about the impact of stopping GWR services at Oak Common on the journey time from the southwest to London, with the added stop at Oak Common adding around 4 minutes to the journey time. However, I would argue the interchange at Oak Common will also be beneficial for passengers from South Wales and the South West, and arguably the new station will be a more convenient interchange between GWR and Crossrail services than Paddington. There has also been anger that the Great Western Main Line will have to close for several periods to allow the tracks to be aligned through the new station. As part of the work to realign the tracks, the bridge over Oak Common Lane is also being widened. At the same time, the road under the bridge will be lowered so that standard double-deck buses can pass underneath, which isn't currently possible with the current bridge. This is seen as important as Oak Common will be a busy interchange, requiring a number of onward travel options, which includes buses. Some preparatory works have already started, which includes utility diversion work. So far, that work has only required lane closures with temporary traffic lights. But the road will have to close fully at some point. But it has been stated that this will not take place until after 2026. The periodic closure of the railway and longer closure of the road will of course be frustrating. But I believe Oak Common will be a terrific interchange, which will have benefits for existing GWR passengers and the local community surrounding the station. Just before I go, can I ask that if you enjoyed this video or found it informative, that you please give it a like, as it helps my content to get noticed.